Well, Alex, let's cross now to Dubai. Of course, earlier this evening we spoke about Dubai International Airport being evacuated after being struck by a missile. Well, now it's one of the most famous landmarks on the Dubai skyline. This is the Burj Al Arab Hotel, of course, the only hotel in the world that has 7 stars. And this evening, in the last few minutes, it has been struck by an Iranian missile or drone in the last wave of missiles that has been sent from Tehran. And you can see these images now showing the hotel is on fire. Of course, an incredibly popular hotel with tourists, particularly British and American tourists, many who would most likely be staying there this evening. This is footage now on your screen of the Burj Al Arab Hotel, the only 7-star hotel in the world, finished in 1999, on fire after being struck by an Iranian missile in the last few minutes. And I did mention before that we were speaking about the Dubai Airport, Dubai International Airport, the busiest airport in the world, which was also struck by an Iranian drone. Well, I can tell you now in the last few minutes, I've got an update from the Dubai media office who have said that 4 people have been injured after what they describe as an incident at Dubai International Airport. This is Terminal 3 at Dubai International Airport. You can see the smoke in this video filmed by somebody in the airport filling up the terminal, thick black smoke filling up the terminal. You can just about see the lights from the shops in the terminal, where ordinarily this would be full of tourists, people going about their day, but now this is images of what Dubai Terminal 3 is looking like at the moment. People there evacuating, going into underground car parks to try and escape from any further Iranian drones. Let's now, though, go over to Tel Aviv, because we've got an update from Tel Aviv, because, of course, we heard that 2 ballistic missiles struck Tel Aviv. These are images there, the latest images showing the destruction there. Well, in the last few minutes, we've heard from Israel's ambulance services, who have posted on X saying around 21 people have been injured after that attack there. And also, following up, now, a report from Israeli media said 1 person has been killed after succumbing to wounds sustained from the attack in Tel Aviv. Well, they are the latest pictures there, as Israeli media, Alex, are now reporting 1 person has died in that ballistic missile attack.
Update here for you. British nationals in Bahrain, Israel, Palestine, Qatar and the United Arab Emirates are being encouraged to register their presence to receive direct updates from the Foreign and Commonwealth Office here on the situation in the Middle East. You can get those links, of course, on X and other platforms. Just please, if you are listening and tuning in from one of those locations, go to the Foreign and Commonwealth and Development Office website now and please register your presence, just so you can receive those critical updates. Of course, very important, as you're seeing here on your screens, this is Dubai. Dubai is under attack. I mean, for goodness sake, it's absolutely incredible, isn't it? Watching these scenes, terrifying, knowing that this city is flooded with tourists, innocent civilians, people, of course, not really wanting to get caught up in a war, going there on holiday. This is not a regime stronghold of the UAE. It is a symbol, actually, of the UAE's openness to foreigners. And it seems to me like that itself has been a target. You can see here the international airport has been attacked. The Burj Al Arab, the only 7-star hotel in the world, under attack. Other hotels have experienced similar. This is, Jonathan, an attack by Iran on the free West in some respects, isn't it? Even though I know the UAE isn't in the West, but we see
Western
Dubai,
values.
Western values.
Muslim world.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, I deplore any attacks on any kind of civilian target, and I would be extremely puzzled about why Iran is targeting the UAE at all. Obviously, they would say presumably they're attacking US interests in the UAE, but it's
Why do you think they've targeted Dubai specifically?
I have no idea, Alex. I'm certainly I'm not a defender.
You don't
I'm not a
think that
defender.
the fact Dubai is full of Westerners and foreigners?
I forgot to call my contacts in the Tehran foreign
Well, you can
office
speculate,
earlier.
Jonathan. You do that fairly enough.
Yeah, but about things I know a lot about. I don't know a lot about this particular question you've asked me, and I'm holding my hands up. I'm not an expert on Iranian.
Theory, surely.
Presumably there are some US interests in the UAE that Iran saw fit to attack.
I do know Dubai fairly well. I used to go and work there quite a lot. I think it is because it is completely the antithesis of Iran's version of Islam, because even though it is a very religious country, I've been there during Ramadan, they observe a quite strict Islamic kind of tradition, but they are open to the West, they are a welcoming society, and I think it is the opposite of the sort of Islamism that Iran is so keen to promote. And that's perhaps the reason.
A famous Iranian economist, Masoud Zanjani, had a talk with Khamenei. And this is one of the interesting parts. He said, when I had a talk with Khamenei, I asked him, why you have these economic policies that Iran's not growing? We need to be friends with the West. And then he said, I am scared. If Iranians become wealthy, they're not going to believe in their religion anymore. The mindset of Khamenei is a mindset that hates prosperity, hates wealth.
Yeah,
that's how he lives. See how he lives.
But it's ironic, isn't it? It's ironic because that was Iran. Dubai is today, in my opinion, what Iran was before the revolution. It was the oasis,
under
wasn't
the Shah.
it?
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. And Dubai, prosperous, Western values, freedom, prosperity and freedom are often linked because if people live in a society where they're free to pursue business, to pursue their beliefs without being impeded by the state, and that's what Iran don't want. They hate freedom, they hate liberty, they hate Western values because it's totally against the theocracy that they believe should run the world. That's why they're hitting Dubai.
Yeah, it's seemingly, it looks that way to me at least. And Jane, when we see, these many countries and places like this, when I talk about Dubai specifically, it feels to many British people, I'm sure, watching who might have visited Dubai, like it's an attack on them almost, because this is like Spain to many British people. I'm not saying this in a trivial way, but many people treat Dubai like Spain now.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's a massive tourist destination now.
Yeah.
When I first started going was around Millennium. It was tiny, and every time I went back over the next 10 or so years, it was growing and growing and growing and growing. And the standard of the hotels and it's very easy to fly there. So the airport, to me, looks very familiar. The Fairmont Hotel that was attacked.
But you're right,
earlier.
Alex. It's like being on the beach in Benidorm and suddenly bombs start dropping all around you. You know what I mean? That's how much of a shock this will be to those people out there.
Absolutely. Yeah. Let's go back to a bit of this international law stuff we've had tonight, Manny, because and I'd like to get your thoughts, of course, on this, Jonathan, as well. But Manny, I'll start with you. The United Nations and others have been talking about the international law and how we've got to. It seems to me that since 2026 started, the President of the United States went, sorry, I don't care about international law. I am the superpower. We are America. We can do whatever we want. This is how the real world operates. And if America wants to flex its muscles, well, you better just be prepared to flinch or get behind us. And we're seeing Europe, particularly the continent here, diverge away from its usual path of supporting America. And I guess what I wanted to ask you is, how do you feel as an Iranian man here in Britain, where we haven't prescribed the IRGC, we've only been part of defensive manoeuvres, as we've called it, with our aircraft today. How do you feel about that?
It's quite ironic. People in Iran are saying United States is not the enemy is within. In Iranian schools, we have the videos. When they hear the bombings, like 12 years old, 13 years old, they're saying, thanks, Uncle Trump. This is the situation in Iran. This is the sentiment in Iran. And then the opposition group that Iranians support, most of them, is the Pahlavi. And then he had a meeting with Netanyahu in 2023. This is the situation in Iran. Here, we have a political leader with close to 15-16% popularity, which writes an article, says we should be closer to the East. We shouldn't have relations with the West, which is Zach Polanski. The anti-Western hatred that I see here, I only read about it in the textbook, which Islamic Republic forced us to read that the West is bad, the West is evil, capitalism is bad, it's root of all evil. And then when you come here, you see that anti-Western hatred.
Yeah.
Not in in universities.
Crazy. Just the footage you can see on your screen and what we've been playing for you over the last minute or so are the celebrations in Iran. The footage that I was seeing earlier on, I think we'll roll it again for you in a second, this new footage, here it is now. Lots of people gathered in the streets celebrating what looks like they're hearing the news of the death of Ayatollah Khamenei. That's what that's the big thing I can think of today. And perhaps as we saw those what looks like hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of people protesting in Iran over the last few weeks, well, maybe they're finally getting the day that they wanted, which is to see the regime absolutely toppled.
The only problem is, last time they were out on the streets, 40,000 of them were shot dead.
Yes,
and
indeed.
I fear for these people. They want freedom, but look what risk they're taking.
Indeed. I just want to speak to another guest here. We've got defence editor at the Evening Standard, Robert Fox. Robert, thank you very much for joining the show this evening. Quite a day indeed, isn't it? The Prime Minister has, of course, made a statement earlier on saying that Britain didn't take part in any strikes. What are the front pages going to look like tomorrow for the Prime Minister? Is it going to be more of this sort of sitting on the fence PM, not ever able to make a decision? Or are we really looking now at just monitoring what Donald Trump thinks because we're so irrelevant?
I think it'll be a bit of both. I'm doing a bit of a stammer on you, aren't I? Sitting on the fence. No, it will be about the death of Khamenei, if that's confirmed, and it looks if it's being confirmed, and what that means. It's a big open door and a big open question, but it also will be, as you rightly suggest, about the stance of the Prime Minister. Now you see me, now you don't. Yes, I'm for this. No, I'm not. We're defending British interests. That's why we put aircraft in the air. Want to defend our Akrotiri? Are we actually using the aircraft in Qatar to defend our allies there? They look as if they need quite a bit of defence. By the way, one of the things that's really being pointed out by the footage from tonight is how much we all need close ground-to-air air defences, a thing that this government in the UK has been very chary of funding. It's a big rolling story. It's an important war. And one of the big questions will be, in conclusion on the headlines, is the war going to get bigger?
Robert Fox, as the other part of this major story today is it seems the President of the United States has confirmed the death of Ayatollah Khamenei. And I'm also seeing here on X a post from Khamenei's account, which has an interesting picture of a man with a sword with what looks like missiles, essentially. This is a painting of some kind. We'll try and get it up for you to show the audience shortly. But the caption reads, "Peace be upon him." Are we seeing now an acknowledgement perhaps from the Iranian regime themselves? Is this a subtle way of indicating that the Ayatollah is indeed dead?
I think so. It's a code. The authorities, when it was first mooted and discussed in the news headlines and on social media, that in the strike on the leader's residency, the residence compound, it was a piece of pinpoint intelligence that seems to have led to this, because it was quite a surprise that the initial attack was in broad daylight, several hours after dawn. It was intelligence that there had been a meeting there and the meeting was breaking up, and that's why they decided to strike. And they seem to have struck. One of the reports that is coming out from the US is that the body has been discovered in the rubble there. Now, your second point, which is very, very important, I think, is Khamenei may be dead, but he had a very strong clan base and was very keen to get his son Moab in to succeed him. And I think that's the messaging with, in the name of the martyr, the firm goes on. That will be concerning. It will be addressed, because they've taken out quite a bit of the key leadership, by all accounts, in the last 20 hours.
Indeed. Robert Fox, thank you so much for joining us this evening, defence editor at the Evening Standard. There is going to be so much fallout from this, isn't there? There's going to be so much fallout for us all to think about here in Britain. When I see the scenes of Dubai Airport, I have been to Dubai a couple of times myself, really shocked me. Really shocking, because this feels to me like it could be any of us. And I know there are Brits out there at the moment who are absolutely terrified of the situation. They're in hiding in their homes. It wasn't only that long ago. We saw Mexico the other week where tourists were cowering at airports behind barriers, hiding in their homes for fear of their lives. British tourists also out there
like a
too.
civil war.
Is this where we're at now in 2026? Are we all going to have to start looking over our shoulders?
Well, aren't we going to have to start getting real in the world about defending ourselves? Because if I was British in Dubai, I'd be thinking now, what was the response of the Prime Minister of Great Britain? First of all, for the last week, he's been telling Donald Trump you can't use British bases, unlike Mrs Thatcher, of course, who said, yes, you can use British bases to attack a rogue power in the Middle East, OK? And then today, I was astonished when he eventually gave a statement 2 or 3 hours after it started. The third paragraph stressed very, very particularly, we didn't join in the attack, you know. I mean, who was that for? Who was he trying to impress? I was ashamed. I wish he'd said, we did join in the attack, and we were part of it. No, no, no. He was stressing we didn't attack anybody in the Middle East, and he said it with pride. Again, you know, citing international law. Lord Hermer, who's the Attorney General in this country, is his chief advisor. They are two human rights lawyers running this country, and they're running the country down and our international reputation.
Why do you think it might be that the Prime Minister would want to reassure the British people that we are not joining this war on Iran? Could it be that a huge majority...
It's not a war.
Oh, sorry, a special military operation.
No, it's an attack.
Could it possibly be that a vast majority of the UK population, just like in the United States, oppose this war? I mean, it's crazy. You attack Starmer for literally everything. Right now, you are against the British people, and he's on the British people's side, because the British people are against this, because they know exactly
how do you know that?
Because they've been polling.
How do you know that?
Well, in the same way that we know anything. There was a poll.
Do you think we're happy to have, you know, people from the revolutionary...
All right, so are you saying that, well, if you want to take issue...
in this country.
If you want to take issue with various polling organisations and say that you know better, that's fine. We can have that conversation. But in as much as we know, based on polling, the British people are against war on Iran, against invading Iran, and certainly against our involvement in that war. So actually, Keir Starmer's position on this is going to be very popular. British people don't actually like invading other people. Well, you don't... Well, I mean, you can just disagree with the facts if you want to, but that's up to you.
But I think British people, if you said to them, our own security services have foiled 20 plots.
Exactly.
Iran has been at the root of those. They only need to get lucky once, and we would see something like the Manchester Arena bombing. We would see something like the 7/7 attacks in London.
Exactly.
It is not, you know, to just say, should we go in a Middle Eastern country and start bombing? Most people would say no.
Well, Jane,
I just want to give some updates to the audience here. Hearing from Reuters that Israeli military is claiming it's completed another wave of strikes targeting ballistic missiles array and aerial defence systems of Iran in western and central Iran. That's just repeat that news there. Reuters are reporting that Israeli military says it's completed another wave of strikes targeting ballistic missile array and aerial defence systems of Iran in western and central Iran. That is, of course, very much in line with what the President of the United States has said earlier on Truth Social, where he declared that this is not going to be over until he gets what he's put in quotes here, peace in the Middle East and indeed the world. Jonathan, I guess this is a difficult situation. Many people in Britain will share your view. They will share your view that this should not be happening, that we should not be interfering in foreign affairs anymore, that Britain should play no part in it whatsoever. There are many people in the Labour Party that are completely split on this issue. You've got the old school sort of Labour Guard who are a bit more Blairite, who are saying, actually, we should be responding, we should be getting involved. America's our ally. But then the lefties on the party are pointing to scenes like Dubai Airport and saying this is what you're going to get if this happens here in Britain.
Alex, warmongers have existed in every main political party for decades, and they love war, and there's no war that they won't cheer on. It doesn't mean that they're right. Sometimes you can justify justify it more than other times. Obviously, we remember in 2003 there was a huge campaign by the British government to secure legal backing for the war in Iraq. A lot of people like Tony Benn said that they wouldn't care if it was legally backed, but there were some people who said, OK, if you get the UN to back this, then I'll support it. But obviously, Donald Trump has done nothing of the kind. He hasn't even sought support from his own Republicans. If he was that confident of getting it, then he would have sought it, by the way. Of course, he knows Congress would not approve this, and that is an impeachable offence, by the way. So that's the first thing. I find it really interesting in the UK that actually this is an example of the Prime Minister actually doing what people have been sort of calling for the last 10 years, which is taking back control and asserting sovereignty. We have sovereignty over Diego Garcia. We have sovereignty over our air bases. It is up to us to say what the US can do. I find it extraordinary that Brexit's main cheerleaders like Nigel Farage are basically saying we should do whatever the United States wants to do. A kind of vassalage. Not sovereignty, vassalage.
Hang on, may I just say, I think this is absolutely ironic. We're talking about the sovereignty of the Chagos Islands in response to this. It's either we think that they should be owned by Mauritius and it's their sovereignty, or it's ours and we've loaned it from Mauritius and that the Americans should have some joint agreement with it. What a mess that would be, right?
Well, there is an agreement between the United States and the UK, which dates back many decades, that says the UK has to give go-ahead for special circumstances, and that is why Donald Trump is now sort of using that as leverage. But the point is that I think most people, I bow to no one in my criticism of Keir Starmer on multiple issues, but on this one, he is actually reflecting the views of British people.
I think Jane Coward.
Well, I think the sovereignty is the sovereign choice to say yes or no. So, whatever our government decides to do.